This is NorCal Tonight. Tonight's guest, NorCal Hall of Famer, the Big Ugly J.D. Bishop. And now, here's your host, Allstate Chris.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Allstate Chris for NorCal Tonight. I'm just kind of doing a little show opener for you here. They call it a monologue, but I'm not going to go that far. Basically, want to give you an idea of what to expect. We at NorCal Tonight kind of felt like we wanted to give an opportunity not only to the workers, but also the fans. To hear some real good interviews, some candid interviews, maybe even some would consider shoot interviews with all the talent here in Northern California. I mean, NorCal Pro Wrestling right now, it's a hotbed, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot of different stars being developed. A lot of guys are, getting the chance to pursue their passion on a very large scale. So what we wanted to do was give you, the fans, the opportunity to get to know these guys a little bit better outside of the ring, also inside of the ring. So we're going to bring you the best that we can with the best talent available here in Northern California, which in my opinion would be pretty much everybody. And we're going to give them a platform to, promote their next show, maybe plug their t-shirts and things of that nature. So I really hope that you enjoy what we have here for you at NorCal Tonight. Tonight's guest is, it's a big deal. To me anyway, it's huge. We have the Big Ugly J.D. Bishop, NorCal Hall of Famer. We might as well just go ahead and get this thing started. And once again, for the thousandth, millionth time, I'll say it 1,000 times more. I appreciate your support, and I really hope you enjoy what you see. This is NorCal Tonight. I'm Allstate Chris. This is my debut episode. I'm more than excited to introduce my guest tonight. How many years in the business you got?
I think it's going on 18.
18 years in the business. This is the Big Ugly J.D. Bishop. And, man, it's a pleasure. I sincerely appreciate this. This is good stuff, man. So you say 18 years in the business?
Yeah, it's been 18 years. Yeah.
Woo! So you've obviously been a part of a lot of training then?
Definitely.
Yeah? You've trained a lot of guys?
People, a lot of training on myself done, and trained all over the place, and yeah, definitely.
Man, that's cool. All over the place. So you've been around. It's more than just Northern California.
Yeah, I first started at APW. With
APW?
Yeah, with Modest Morgan, and then I had some situations there happen, so I left and went down to NAW in Fresno with Brian Ward. Finished all my training there, and then I moved, I was always in Sacramento, but I went back to SAC and started training wrestlers there in the Stockton area and opened up my own school and started running things out of there.
Okay, so SPW was born through a school that you opened?
Actually, SPW was owned by a guy named Rich Roby, and I met him by chance. Me and my friend, his name's Manny Galindo, I wrestled as Kid Lundy for a while. We had just graduated the NAW school, and I remember we took our wives to a taping of Nitro at the old Arcor.
Yeah.
And we got a flyer from this guy, and we were like, oh yeah, well we just got trained. Oh, come on down, and I'd love to have you work for us, and blah blah this and all this. So we were all excited to get our first match. We were just all shits and giggles. It's 10 minutes from our house, and Cloud 9, and then we get to the arena, and Roland Alexander's there, and me and him had heat, and so he basically told the promoter, yeah, well if Gabe's on the show, our guys are leaving, and it was like Vinny Massaro and Donovan Morgan and Boyce LeGrand and all these guys, and so the guy didn't book me.
Oh wow!
And then he kind of said, "Hey, if you just stick with me, next month I won't have them come back and I'll use you because you're true to your word." And I said, "Okay." So the next month they parted ways, and then I became part of the company, and then started the rivalry with us and APW for all those years.
Oh yeah, those are rivalries.
And it wasn't really. I always try to tell people it wasn't. I don't want to say it was APW versus SPW. It was Roland against Big Ugly. Roland did not like me from the situation we had, and we had heat for a lot of years, and it was more his side than mine. I mean, this guy is. I didn't like his business practices, but he's a fucking wrestling promoter. That's what wrestling promoters do. It's cutthroat, And he went out of his way to stop me from doing wrestling, and I just wanted to wrestle. And so we had heat for a lot of years, and he still hired all my students and hired all my guys, and they were working the shows, winning belts there, and he just didn't like me and didn't want to use me, and hey, that was fine. I was doing my own thing, so that was it. That started the whole big rivalry with us, and
Okay. So and you're talking right at that point. That's when SPW came. It was SPW at that time.
Yeah,
and you came as a wrestler.
It was actually Sacramento Pro Wrestling, and I told the owner then. I said, hey, you need to change the name because we don't want to be known as Sacramento, this local. We want to be known as a local thing. We don't want to be our world champion from Sacramento Wrestling. Doesn't make sense to me. Like we have to be larger than life, you know. So I said, we gotta make it. I want to keep the initials, but we have to make it something else. Like we were like Savage Pro Wrestling, all these different things, and Supreme is the one we came out with.
Okay.
And so we just moved with that.
Okay, that's cool. So a little bit of history, just to throw this out there. Who was the first SPW champion?
First SPW champion, I believe, was Hard Time Hustler, Louis Cantrell.
Okay.
He's still around. I don't know if he works anymore. And then it went to, I think, Big Money Bill Monroe, and then Mike Matrix. And then we kind of just went off for like, Bulldog Brian Raymond, myself, Dante, Flacco. A couple other people had it here and there.
Dante is CJ.
CJ, Craig. He's fucking Dante. Piece of shit.
That's funny. That's I've heard that before as well.
When you know somebody for that long, and I've spilled so much blood with him, his name's always going to be Dante. It's funny, his shoot name is CJ. I just always call him Dante. It's just he's always going to be Dante to me.
Yeah. So, you say you spilled a lot of blood with him. Are there any matches with him, or any matches in particular from that era that like stick out in your mind? Like, man, that was a good one.
I remember talking to him, and we were both wrestling wise. I was young. Age wise, I started wrestling later than most people, but. I won't say too late. I started when I was 24, but a lot of guys start when they're like 16 now. Younger than that nowadays. But we had to do something to separate us from the other companies. And APW was traditional wrestling. They were real wrestling. It was like the real stuff you want to see. So me and him were both fans of like CZW and ECW, and we just said, hey, let's do hardcore. So we wanted to make a name doing hardcore, and that's where we got the hardcore image. And we kind of did a couple matches. We did the Japanese death match and a couple other things, and. But we wanted to be separated from everybody else. We didn't want to do hardcore where we were doing garbage cans. I mean, anybody can do that. So we wanted to do like extreme violent wrestling, and we came up with the Hardcore Super 8. And the finals was me and him, and we did it was in a cage, barbed wire, and all kinds of stuff, and we clay pots and just everything we ever wanted.
Man.
And it was just a great match. It was bloody, and it kind of really set us apart from everybody else, and it made people want to come see us because like other companies would say, oh, all they do is this hardcore bullshit. And people would be like, well, I want to see that. So then they would come. So we started drawing really big numbers. But problem when you do that shit is people expect it every month.
Yeah.
It's hard to do that every month. It's not just as hard. It just doesn't make sense. So most of our big hardcore stuff was always on the end of a feud.
I was gonna say it's a build up.
Yeah,
right?
we just did it well.
Well, that's cool, man. A lot of blood spilled in Sacramento then, huh?
Definitely. The Colonial Theater, there was a lot of, we went through a lot of canvases back then.
Wow. A little bit of an investment, but
a lot of canvases and a lot of crazy.
You gotta blow it off right?
Yeah.
You gotta get the good send off. Yeah. So, having 18 years in the game, I mean, you've trained a lot of people, obviously. So I always like to ask a little bit about advice. Like, what kind of advice do you normally give to a newcomer? Say they've been in training for about a month, and you're feeling pretty good about what they got going on. What kind of advice do you give them to keep them, motivated? Or
I usually tell them, don't tell me what your fucking gimmick's gonna be, because everybody comes in, they have, I know what my persona's gonna be. You don't know what the fuck you're gonna do. When you graduate, we'll give you a gimmick, or we'll help you develop one. Because everybody right away wants to be the Stone Cold or the John Cena or whoever's hot. They want to be that character.
Yeah. But we all start off as fans, right?
Or now they want to all be like AJ Styles. You'll have these cookie cutter. You can't be that. Somebody already is it. Some people you have to have, your Chupacabra character. You have to have your Timothy Thatcher character. You have to have these different characters, and those guys were all good wrestlers. When they got their character, then they excelled. And they became complete workers, and everybody wants to be this Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Rock right away. It just doesn't happen that way. A lot of times, you in your mind, you're this great badass, but to me, I can say, no, you're going to be a funny guy.
Yeah.
That's what we make you. To see something in somebody that they don't see in themselves, because you always have your image of what you want to be. I want it to be more like a Superfly Snuka, is what I want it to be. I kind of went all the way with that one because it was easier to be myself. When I first started, actually, I was the original Chupacabra. And then I give that gimmick to the guy who has it now, but I was the original Chupacabra. I had the mask and all that stuff, and it just wasn't me though. It just wasn't me. That was what my trainer gave me to do.
So up in Oregon, you work face?
It just varies. Now I'm a face, but it just varies. When I first did the TV stuff up there with Portland Wrestling and Culbertson, me and Vinny Massaro were the cartel, and we were heels. We were high. We went into the babyface. People just did not like us. They didn't know us.
Yeah.
And we got on TV, cut a promo, and then they just hated us. And from then we just, for 2.5 years, we're the tag team champs and the biggest heels.
2.5 years?
2.5 years,
Oh, that's a solid run.
Yeah.
Woo.
And we dominated there. And
The Cartel, that sounds familiar. I've seen a video on the Cartel.
it probably, it's funny because Vinny actually was one of my trainers, and he's younger than me.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah.
and when we teamed, I thought I knew a lot about wrestling. I didn't. He just taught me so much wrestling. Like, I would be happy just teaming with him the rest of my life. We just haven't. The company he worked for won't book me. The companies I work for won't book him. You know, for whatever the reasons are.
It's the P word, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it's
they dropped the P word several times in several interviews, and just to fill you in there.
But we just have great chemistry, and we're horrible wrestling each other, but together it's just awesome. You know?
That's great, man. Vinny Massaro's doing things. He's doing things.
But no, like now I'm a baby face because the time I spent on the uncut thing they were doing.
Okay.
So.
But yeah, the reason why I brought that up is because I've been going to this indie wrestling for about 3 years. You guys showed up here in Woodland. I think it was Sacramento Wrestling Federation, EDLA. And ever since that moment, I was always like, dude, genuine heel, 100% heel. I've seen you work face, at SPW a few times, but I'm like, dude, heel, like you really you cut them good. And I'm like,
I love being a heel. And it's growing up, Ric Flair, Piper were my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Wrestler. Oh god, yeah. I mean, and even beyond that, like I was kind of like a fan of Gorgeous George, like just the way PV got his heat. Just the old guys like that. I was always a bad guy fan. I was never into Hogan until he went, Hollywood. But I was always just a fan of the bad guys. It's funny because the only good guy, only babyface I ever liked was Coco Beware. And so those are I'm so not those guys. But I've always been a heel guy. It just, I don't know. That's just more real life to me. It's easy to be an asshole.
Yeah, that's how I've always, I don't want to say I've always been a heel guy, because when I was a child, I liked all the Ultimate Warriors and stuff like that. But as I got older, I was always into the Intercontinental title, and whoever the heel was carrying it. Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude, that kind of stuff was fun to me. That's what I liked. So I can totally relate to that. That's good stuff. And when it comes to injuries in the ring, like, do you finish? Depending, has there been an injury that happened in the ring that stopped you from being able to finish that match?
The only one that happened was probably, I think it was a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Oh,
in Portland. Me and my brother Jeremy Blanchard were teaming, and it was just a routine spot, and we were wrestling Ethan HD and Mike Santiago, and they had me draped outside the ring. It was one of those bullshit small rings too. So I'm sitting over here, like all fours. And Santiago runs around, he's going to try to drop kick me while he misjudges the height of the ring, and he comes wrong, and I'm sitting here locked up because I don't see it coming, and he drop kicks my elbow.
Oh!
And it dislocated, popped out, and I sat there and I was like, oh man, this doesn't feel right. I roll over, and I tagged Jeremy, and I'm sitting on the apron going, oh man, this doesn't feel right. And then one of the dumbass marks says, oh, look at his arm, it's broken. So I'm like, fuck, shit, it's fucking broken. I don't want to look, so I'm going to go shock and shit, So I'm sitting there, and finally said, fuck it, I just walk out. I just walked out and went into the back, and then, they took me to the ER, and it was dislocated. I got a picture of my Facebook, so it's fucking just popped out there. And,
dude.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't necessarily hurt bad. It was more like, I felt it numb, but the way they were reacting, I thought, man, this thing's fucking wrapped around.
Yeah,
it's just fucking
bones poking out.
I was like, I gotta get out of here because I'm gonna look at that and go in shock. And, but I kind of wish I would have just stood in there and finished. But I kind of freaked out a bit, and
Well, and I'm sure you've had a lot of injuries where you did stay in there and finish.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've got concussions and I've had to finish. I remember I did a match with Flaco Loco, and I had him trio me and put a clay pot on my head. And then for some reason I had this idea if he just threw a bowling ball, it would break it. And he throws his bowling ball and shit cracks, and then boom, I was just out and fucking pissed on myself. And I was completely unconscious, and he's trying to pick me up, and I'm sitting there fucking dead fishing. And that was one of the 2 times I was knocked out in the ring. And it was all my fault, my spot, And
wow.
Those.
So the bowling ball just went straight through that pot and just took you out.
Yeah, I was thinking like in my mind that I could have my head to the side, and the Flaco, he just fucking barreled away too. Not like he could try to. He's not a bowler. He's fucking Mexican unless it's pitching or cruiserweight boxer or something. He's not gonna be good at it. But he just barreled away, and it just. I remember like I heard it here, and then I just felt here, and then it was just done. But. Yeah, it was just freaking. I didn't know why I thought it would work. What's worse is a couple years later, I wrestled Adam Thorstow in Best of 7, and I can fix and make it better this time. So I have him put me in a chair with my chair, open my head through it, and the clay pot here, and double stomp. thinking he'll miss me. You know, it'll be way up here. He'll miss me. He fucking just fucking knocked me out. And I was laying there. I remember Virgil comes over and I'm all caressing his face. And it was just, and I started thinking, I'm probably not just going to stay at this spot from now on because it hasn't ended up good. So I don't do the clay pot anymore. But those two, other than that, just, get cuts and, you bleed the hard way sometimes. And, sprains and stuff. Not too big. Wind knocked out of you, but yeah, concussions are probably the worst I've.
Man, I would think wind knocked out of you probably happens more often than
a lot of it does a lot, and it's usually
something
stupid. Sometimes somebody tries to kick you and they're fucking just toe you
or
something.
Oh, yeah?
Before. Fucking Dylan Drake did that to me a few months back. I was laying there and he stomped him. And I can't tell him to fucking stop, because the wind's knocked out of me. But it's just, sometimes you just miss, but.
Absolutely, man. That's something else. So, you mentioned Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
Earlier, and saying that was one of your favorites, and of course I want to say from NorCal tonight, rest in peace, Roddy Piper. But I've seen footage where you're working directly with the man up in Oregon. I've seen promos, where he would introduce you, or I've seen just several different videos. How was it working with him? And what are your thoughts on if it's safe for me to ask, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, man, I love me some Piper, man. He kind of saved my career up there for a while because I hadn't really been. I was in a big car accident, and I was kind of out of business I was supposed to be out indefinitely, but I'm not.
You're a wrestler, man.
Yeah, I'm a worker, so that's not gonna happen. So I remember I can't. It's this whole big old thing, and I wasn't getting my money I was supposed to be getting from my lawsuit because it wasn't settled, and I couldn't work anymore because they wouldn't clear me. But my unemployment was up, so I didn't have any money coming in. I was basically, I was almost pretty much fucking homeless, and they asked me to come up to do this pilot, and I was like, I was telling the Grappler's the booker out there, and he goes, yeah, boss, I'll get you up here and just come on in, help these young kids out, and I was like, okay. And I just want to get back there. We hadn't had a match in almost a year. And I was in way better shape. I think my accident I was 285, and at that point I was down to 220 because I just, I had diabetes and all this bullshit was going on in my house. So I needed a conscious effort to get back in shape, And so I worked my ass off to get back in shape, and they gave me this vehicle to be on TV, and I was excited to be back on TV. And I remember the first episode, Piper, he didn't know me from anybody, and he kind of had his guys picked on who he wanted to make this guy, and didn't know me, and he basically said, well, this guy's a pretty mean-looking guy. I'll have him beat up this Pat Lars kid, and I'll run in and beat him up, because he was doing the whole anti-bullying thing.
Oh, okay.
So I was beating up this Pat Lars kid, Piper ran out and beat him with his belt, and I was fucking having a mark out with trying to be a wrestler moment.
Oh, shit,
it's like, holy shit, this is great. This is awesome. This is like, I'm on TV getting my ass whooped by Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
I've arrived. Anyways, I bail out. He comes over saying, hey, great job, blah, blah. And I remember the next month, the Blanchards, Piper was having issues because a lot of the guys couldn't cut promos, the big babyface guys, and the Blanchards went, hey, well, just let Ugly talk. Ugly can talk. And he's like, okay, well, I'll see what he can do. So he has me do this interview, and the commentator tells me, hey, so why do they call you Big Ugly? I'm like, why do you think they call me Ugly? He's like, well, yeah, I think you're handsome. So right away I went on with this. So you looking at me funny? And then I said, are you looking at me in a little Sandusky way? And fucking, you see him stop. And it's a Fox affiliate. And the Sandusky thing had just happened, So he was like, and he's a Fox guy. He's one of their main reporters. And he's just like, doesn't know what. So we finished the interview, and uncut. They filmed everything backstage. They didn't cut nothing out. Yeah. So they would show us videotape, and they pan over. You see the other wrestlers in the locker room. The first couple episodes. So they pan over to Piper. He's fucking laughing. He is dying, legit dying. And he comes over, he's like, go with it. Just go with it. So every promo I do is continually more. With this guy, it's more about him being homosexual, liking me, wanting to be with me and stuff, So we keep going that route, and the station, remember, they call me and they say, hey, dude, you can't do these promos anymore. They're just getting too bad, And I was like, well, I'm not cussing. I'm just a couple innuendos, but that's about it, And I do this one where I told the guy, I'm like, hey, so how was that barbecue? And he's like, what barbecue? I said, that barbecue when that guy came and put his meat on your grill. And the station was like, yeah, no, you fucking cut tape. So they keep making me cut tape, and they keep calling me in, and Piper tells me, no, go with it, keep doing it, just keep doing it. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, I'm losing all my fucking TV time.
Yeah,
the same token, the King of Controversy is telling me to keep going with this. I'm gonna listen to Piper.
No,
I just keep doing these promos. They keep cutting me, and half my stuff's not making the air. And then I remember Piper finally called me. He's like, hey, I want you to come down here. I was like, what do you mean to talk? And he's like, you're gonna be my guy. And I was like, what do you mean? And there's more to the story, but he basically just says, you know what, you gave up TV time to listen to what I told you to do. He's like, I can trust you.
Yeah.
So then that became where I became like his guy, and he just used me for everything, you know, and just gave me the vehicle to be the main guy there. Like I was the champ for there for so long, and got to do some great stuff there. Went from being the top heel to the top baby face with one promo, you know, and it was just awesome just having him. It just meant so much to me. The only thing could have been more is if it was Flair was there, because I'm a Flair guy, you know. But him and Flair are my two, but yeah, it was just awesome to be around him and to him to, even though I was, you know, in my late 30s, coaching me still and just learning and just being in his office and talking to him, going to his house, and it was just weird.
Wow, went to his house and everything.
Oh, yeah, the Blanchards are really close with him.
Okay.
Because they're Oregon guys, and so it was just, and I'm you know, they're my brothers up there, so yeah, we got to hang out a lot. It was just an awesome experience.
That's
like,
cool, man.
To go from being a mark to being his buddy, which is, I don't say buddy, but you know.
No, but I mean, his guy,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Any other moments in your career?
It kind of parallels with that. I remember leading up to the whole me becoming the champ up there. At the time, Sean Devari was the champ.
Okay.
And he had wrestled a bunch of guys, and he didn't really like a lot of the guys he was working, and he wanted to take some time off. I think he was going to Japan or something, and so he told me, "Hey, I got to be gone. I want to work somebody and drop the belt." And I was like, "What about?" Oh, he's yeah. He's like, "Yeah, I think we work good together." And so he's like, "Okay, cool." So I remember I get up there, and Piper. At this point, Piper's doing his one-man show at this comedy club up there. And it's a pretty cool little thing he was doing. It was pretty awesome. But anyways, we meet there to watch him do the show, and they call me in, and it's me, Grappler, Piper, and Sean Devari. We're sitting at this table talking, and I'm just sitting there thinking, fuck, I'm about to go over on TV for the heavyweight title to Sean Devari. Grappler's the booker, and Piper's the promoter. And I'm thinking, fuck, dude, like, I'm the least experienced guy at this fucking table, and like in my areas, I'm the fucking main guy. I was thinking, yeah, this is just a trip to me to just sit there and be that guy. Like, I just have to listen and do what I'm told. You know, I was like. It was just like I was thinking, man, this is how wrestling's supposed to be. You know, you're making money, you're working with quality people, you're doing TV, you're at a bar. You know, so that was a plus. And it was just really like it just made everything. And even though it was just a small moment, it's just something small to most people. It's just like, you know, I worked hard to get there where I'm saying, yeah, I'm right now we're sitting here with these two legends booking an angle with one of my favorite indie workers. You know,
yeah.
And it was just really cool. And they did this whole thing where, you know, I said I had been the big heel, and I dressed up like Santa. There's this whole big. It was really 80s Dusty Rhodes style booking, but it went over really well, and it was just awesome, awesome experience.
And you know, 80s Dusty Rhodes style bookings never. You know what? It's not always a bad thing.
If more people did that, indie wrestling would be more successful.
Yeah,
you know, seriously. Wrestling's a simple formula. You don't have to reinvent the fucking wheel. You just change the parts, you know. And people try too hard. And what I tell people from my days of booking, when you have to explain to the boys 50 times what the gimmick, the angle is, the fans are gonna process it watching it one time. It's just not gonna happen.
Oh yeah.
You keep this shit simple and basic. You know, A takes you to B, B takes you to A. You're fucking done. It's just simple. You know, you don't. Some guys, people are like, okay, but remember back 4 months ago, you said this in a promo. The fans don't fucking remember that shit. You know, and one time it's like they don't. It's just too fucking hard. This guy runs in, this guy runs in, and then what about this? It's just come on, man. Go in there and then fucking do your shit. You know, it's fucking simple. And people make it overcomplicated, man. And then you're sitting there going, what the fuck just happened? Like, you know.
I can say that I've been in positions where I'm going like, whoa, what the fuck? You know. I can agree with that. I definitely can. That's something for sure. As far as like in-ring competition, I would assume you guys are like, you know, brothers. You know, you hear that from the crowd or from fans anyway, that you guys are, the perception is that you guys are like all brothers. So when you're having a match, say with a good friend, or, you know, I try to ask everybody this question, has there ever been a moment where you had to like contain yourself from laughing because of a specific, you know, you say your opponent said something funny, or, you know, I've heard of some bad bumps that got people laughing. Is there any in-ring competition moments where you
I remember one time we were doing, we were wrestling SPW, and I brought the Portland guys down, so it was like me and Vinny, and I think Flock or somebody was our partner, against, it was the Blanchards and Skag Rollins, what they call themselves, the Three Birds. And, the Three Birds. And we were supposed to lead up to the Three Birds versus the Commandos, DJ Rez vs. the Soul, as the other commando, but we were kind of the go-between to get them ready for it and stuff. So we're still on the outside, and I remember Vinny comes around, and the Blanchards wear these kind of like baggy-ish, look like pajama bottoms, right?
Okay.
So Vinny runs up and pants his Jay. Well, Jeremy's not wearing any underwear. So fucking, from my perspective, all I see is ass cheek. And from the other side, all they see is fucking dick. So I remember going, oh shit, and the fucking fans are like, do we laugh or do we like feel offended and leave? and Vinny's and Jeremy's in the ring kind of with that you fucking dick, but he knows it's funny too.
Yeah,
you know. And I don't think he was so upset about the backside. I think when he should have so fucking manhood to the audience, it kind of was probably a little embarrassing. But I remember just sitting there thinking, fucking Vinny, dude. Like only Vinny would do this shit, and having to be in the corner. And I was telling him, I'm fucking not going in there with him, dude. He ain't wearing no underwear, man. Like, this is gonna fucking brush up against me, man. Like, just sitting there and then trying to finish this fucking match, and the fans are laughing, and everything we do, like they're making jokes about Jeremy, and he doesn't want to be in there now because people are making fun of him in a bad way, you know. And it was just, man, I just could not stop fucking laughing. I think we ended up just wrapping it up and going like 4 minutes because we just couldn't. Jeremy, and the more me and Vinny and Flocko were laughing, and those are 3 bad guys to have, fucking not being able to control the laughter is me, Vinny, and Flocko. Against them, and Jeremy just getting pissed. And I love Jeremy to death, but I felt so bad. But I could, when you get those giggles, you know?
Yeah.
And you have 3 guys like me, us doing that. Oh, fuck, man. It was just, it was just
oh, man. You guys go way back, huh? How long have you known Flocko?
I think I met him when I first started SPW. I met him, somebody who I worked with gave me a tape. She's like, hey, have you ever heard of this Encouragement Strange Wrestling? And I was like, no. She's like, oh, God, it's so funny. It's just, they're you know, it was like Hood Slam kind of. Mm-hmm. But they're wrestling with less wrestling. But they were just guys who didn't know how to wrestle. They were wrestling on, like, the fans would throw tortillas in the ring, and there's just a bunch of guys dressed up in lucha gear, and, you know, it was just really, really weird. It was strange. And Flocko was from there. And the girl gave him the thing, and I told him, well, you know, I'll talk to him. So he come over and talked to me at the Colonial when I was training there. And here's the thing, dude, you're shit in the ring. Your wrestling's horrible. I was like, but I could use you as a manager. I said, I'd love to have you as a manager. And then I'll train you to wrestle. And he was all in for it. Yeah. And from then on, he just came like he's like my big brother. And even though I'm his trainer, he's just, you know, one of the guys that I totally trust in my life is Flocko, you know. And he's really helped me through a lot and been through a lot and worked his ass off for a lot. You know, with that and his bands and all of the stuff he does. It's just a good dude. Yeah,
that guy. I can say the same. It's very commendable on his. He pursues passion, and that's awesome. More people in the world. We need more people in the world like that. So in saying that, like, you know, wrestling is a lot about passion. So I know that you wanted to do this. This is something you wanted to do. But have you had any influences, like when you were coming up, that kind of pushed you to say, no, you should do it. You should, you know, helped you to pursue your passion?
I mean, I was always a fan, you know, growing up. I remember my dad was out of my life when I was young, and I remember he came back in my life. I was living in Trace, California at the time. And he brought me up here, and he didn't know how to be a dad. I think I was like in 4th or 5th grade. He didn't know how to be a dad, you know. So he said, "Well, I'll take him to wrestling at the Memorial Auditorium," you know. And
oh, cool.
I remember the first night he took me. The main event was Hogan and Stud. I remember Piper wrestled Jimmy Snuka and the Moondog wrestled the Small. I remember like the whole fucking card, you know.
Wow, yeah.
Ivan Koloff was there. I just remember everything. Like
that sounds like a hell of a card.
Yeah, and I was sitting there just in amazement at what the hell is this? Like I was like, and I was just in love with it from then on. Like I was just in total awe. And from then on, every time they did the tours back then, I think it was, oh God, I forgot who used to run it over here. I forgot who the church, Owens was up there in Oregon, and it'll come to my head around here, but he ran his territory here, so every month he'd bring them down, and WWE would do a show at the auditorium.
Oh, wow.
That's the weekend my dad would bring me up. They would do that and then roller derby, so we'd go to both. And I was such a fan. I went home and was trying to find, every time it was on TV, I'd watch it and just stay up late to watch it, and just became a fan of it. And I remember through high school, as I was getting older, I kept wanting to do it, and I remember I even cut my hair like a Roller Animal, because I was a big Roller fan.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And there's a couple of people.
That's a commitment.
Yeah. This is way before internet and shit, so I was getting like magazines and stuff. And
sure.
Getting tapes from people, and you know, I remember a lot of people didn't know what the NWA was, because it was all WWE, you know,
yeah.
World classes and all that. And so I was like the only fan of those things, and as I got, you know, older, I had a chance to go play football somewhere, and I was telling people, well, I really want to do wrestling, and at that time I had just gotten a letter from Humboldt State, and I got one from the Malenko School. And I remember that both on the
just like around the same time.
And I remember I was thinking, fuck, and my dad's going, well, you better take the one to go to Humboldt, because he wanted me to get college education.
Yeah, of course.
But Dad, I'm like, this is fucking like Malenko, dude.
Yeah.
This is his school. It's not that expensive. I can move down there in 6 months. I work in it. And I ended up doing Humboldt. I got in trouble up there, and came back, and I said, I'm going to the Army. I went to the Army for a while, and That always burned in me though to do wrestling, and when I finally got my life straight, I decided to make the move. But people were always telling me, "Oh, you can't do that." So, nobody ever does. People weren't smart to wrestling and didn't know, and so that always drove me. Just people telling me that I can't do it. I'll never make it. And some say I haven't made it, but I tell people like this. People say, "Oh, you still do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, you still fucking golf with your friends? PGA Tour ain't calling your fucking ass up." I bet you I made more money wrestling than people I made playing pickup basketball or fucking playing whatever their bullshit fantasy football, whatever the fuck they do is, And I said I got to meet a lot of great people, got to do a lot of cool things, So in my mind, and it's just the network of people that I know and I've trained that's out there. I think that makes me successful. Like my business card is my students, And when anybody says, "Oh, like people still know the people that I've trained," and and they're surprised. "Oh, you trained him?" I'm like, "Yeah." I did." And they're like, "Oh, well, yeah, because he told me that." And I didn't believe him. Why wouldn't the fuck you believe it?
What the fuck? That's such a nice thing for you to say.
Yeah, I don't know if I should be, say thank you or fuck you. It's just. See, I kind of lived through my students, and I never really. My goal in the wrestling wasn't to make it to the WWE, although if Vince came, I would happily. But it was to open up a school, run a company, and train people, because that's what I like doing is training people. I coach football.
Yeah, you coach football.
Yeah, and I like doing that. I like that part of the business. And as I started getting older, even if that did happen, like I would never want to leave my kids. I'd never want to.
Yeah. See, it's 300 days on the road,
and
right?
So that's when people say, "Oh, it's your passion." I said, "No, it's not. I love wrestling. Believe me, I love pro wrestling. It's a part of me." But it's not my fucking passion. Doesn't define who I am. Yeah. My kids are my passion. My kids are my life, and then football and school and wrestling, all that catering to who I am. But yeah, these people.
There's more elements to you.
Yeah,
than just that.
And to everybody there is. People like to sit there and say, "Oh, my life is pro wrestling." Bullshit. If it was, you'd have gear. You train all the time, and you get the fuck out of one area. But people don't. They want to just be a big fish in a small pond. Guys like Thatcher and Christina Von Eerie, they did it the right way. They got the fuck out of here, and they're going around the world now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a beautiful thing, man. That's a beautiful thing. So, in talking about people that you've trained, I heard recently, I believe on Stone Cold's podcast, a Johnny Mundo, obviously Johnny Nitro, depending on which program you prefer, name dropped you, man, and gave you a little shout out there.
Yeah.
Did you play a part?
Yeah, he was one of mine. Johnny's something else, man. He's a weird story because he came in and he was going to UC Davis.
Yeah.
And he had contacted me about he wanted to be a pro wrestler, and I was like, okay, well, come down and train. He's like, well, here's the thing. He's like, I want to train just so I can be in movies. I was like, what the fuck you doing pro wrestling for? You're like, there's not many successful pro wrestling movie stars. It's not a good vehicle to get into, And he's like, oh, but I said, well, when you're serious about it, come on down, and I charge you this much, blah, blah. He came down the next day, and I told him, okay, well, here's what it's going to take. You pay me this much, I'll train you, show up every day, and in 6 months you'll be ready to go, or whatever my program was at the time, and you'll be ready to rock. And he was like, okay, and the same guy, I want to do this move, and I said, no, dude, that's fucking stupid, you're not going to do that. And kind of had to break him down. The problem with John, normally, when I get a student in there, if he kind of pops off or, he's a little, doesn't want to conform, I can get him in there, stretch him out, or have somebody that can. But Johnny wasn't like, Johnny was a fucking collegiate wrestler. Like when we'd shoot, I'd have to fucking just sandbag him, I'd have to fucking hook, and he was really hard to teach a lesson to. But he was really respectful, and the problem we had with Johnny is that the chicks digged him when he first started. So I remember I tried to put him as a ref, and I forgot who the match was. I think it was some pieces of shit. And I have him in there ref, and then the girls are in the audience, and fucking my ex-wife was one of them trying to take your shirt off, and she's not talking to the fat asses wrestling, So he started taking away from matches because he was,
becoming too much of
too much of a stretch. Yeah. So plus you're not reffing anymore. You have to wear a suit of armor or something.
Yeah.
So then I said, well, me being the promoting whiz I am, I started saying, well, here's what we're gonna do. I need you to go to the mall and take your shirt off and hand out flyers. And he started doing that. They kicked him out after a while, but he was walking around with his shirt off, handing out flyers. And
so, has this guy had that 8-pack his whole career?
Oh God, yeah. No,
he's had that build the whole time.
He's similar to Thatcher. He came in phenomenal shape.
Oh, okay.
And they just carried it out longer. But no, he was always. I mean, he wasn't as thick as he is now.
Yeah.
But he was. Yeah, he was lean as shit. I mean, he was Yeah, there was an ounce of
He
fat.
could have busted out that parkour back then.
Oh yeah. And it's funny because this fucking shithead. I love Johnny to death, but he wanted to do that. It's funny because he still tells the story too. He wanted to do these two moves. He wanted to do. One of them, he tells me, "Hey, well, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna whip the guy in the ropes. I'm gonna jump on my hands and fucking scissor kick forward." I'm like, "That's fucking stupid, Johnny." In the fucking what universe does that make sense? Well, I'm gonna whip and then I'll start kicking. I was like, "Yeah, anybody's gotta put their hands up or drop kick or fucking hold their. It doesn't make any sense." And he's like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna do something where I body slam them and I get on their head and I head spin on their stomach." I'm like a fucking drill or something? What? I was like, how was that supposed to hurt? But like in his mind, it was the fucking greatest thing ever. And I remember when he came down, dated the show here, and he asked me to go out to dinner with him, and he was dating the Molina girl at the time. And she goes, "Oh, so you're the guy who told him that the head spin was stupid?" And I was like, "Yeah, that was me, because that's a fucking ridiculous move." And he's like, "Yeah, I know, boss." Actually, the one that told him to do the shooting star thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because I stole from Amazing Red. But I told him that this is the movie you should do, and he's like, "Oh, I don't think it'll work," and he fucking did it. And then Tough Enough 3 called him, and he did it for Al Snow, and Al Snow thought it was the greatest thing ever when he didn't want to do it. And then I remember later he called me, and we were talking about it. I said, "I told you, though, you may know looks and all that bullshit, but you don't know fucking wrestling." You know?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I remember he was going to go over. He called me and said, "Hey, well, you know, they're calling me back. They want me to come out for Tough Enough 3. And should I go?" I'm like, "Well, fuck yeah, dude. I'm staying here. Well, I'm about to make my debut." "Fuck your debut at the Colonial Theater, dude. Like, we ain't going nowhere." And so he went, and then he goes, well, you know, "Do you have any advice?" I'm like, "This is what you do. Get there, you shut the fuck up, and act like you don't know shit." And that's what he mentioned on the podcast, on Stubble's podcast with that. I told him that. And, you know, that's the best advice I give any rookie. You don't know shit. I don't care what you watched, or who you know, or what your fucking dad told you. You don't know pro wrestling. You know?
Yeah. A lot of people, I would assume, come in thinking that they do, though. You know,
yeah, because they watched it for a lot of years, or they go to fucking SmackDown vs. Raw and create a mode and make themselves and win every fucking belt or whatever, you know. So all of a sudden they're fucking legit workers, you know. Which is fine. I did that too. But that doesn't mean I fucking know how the business works, you know.
Oh man, that's too good. That's
I
too
fucking
good.
tell people, I play Madden too, and I can fucking go in there and make my character. I can't rush for 8,000 yards in the fucking season, but I can on Madden, you know.
Oh, completely different story, man. That's a completely different story.
No, but you know, I mean,
funny.
you know, they do that. They think they know the business, and it's, you know, you gotta understand, like, wrestling is a work, and it's a movie, and it's when you think, if you're a fan and you think you figured it out, then you're a mark. You're fooled. You're fooled because you don't. You know, you don't know. There's so much more goes into it, and a lot of it is bastardized now with people thinking they know and they don't know. But the real art of wrestling is it's still there, and just a lot of people just don't know it. And you got your few guys who can do it right, but you know. It's a form, and once you think you figured it out, yeah, you're more fooled than before.
There's no figuring it out.
No,
right?
there's not.
No, yeah. Oh shit, man. Okay. So you know, another good question I like to ask people. You've been on freeways. You've been on airplanes. I'm sure you've done a lot of traveling. How many states have you wrestled in?
Shit. I would probably say close to all of them.
Oh shit,
Except
really?
a couple. Like, I mean, you know.
Hawaii?
No, I've never been off the continent. Well, I've been like Mexico and Canada, but I've never been to Hawaii.
Okay.
I haven't been to like Wyoming or like fucking.
Okay, yeah, some of
a
the
couple
small
of
stuff.
Yeah, those Delawares and shit like that. But
Mexico, huh?
yeah, I've been down there a couple of times. When we first started training, we had this guy named Rabia who was from Ray Senior School.
Oh, cool.
And he kept bugging us to go down, and I did a show with Ray Senior, and he asked me to come down. So we just went on for a couple weekends and worked a couple things down there. It was not. I didn't like it.
So that's a great place to maybe pinpoint this question. Any funny / good / crazy road trip stories? Anything that sticks out in your mind, like oh shit, or oh man that was funny, you know?
I mean, as I got older or more in the business, I didn't really travel a lot with a lot of people, or we'd fly a lot, you know, which does it. There's only so much you can do at the airport when you're traveling with the Reno Scum and Paul Isadora and Vinny and Oliver John. You know, people are watching you every step you make. You know, so
yeah.
There's not, you know, when you have a 7-foot guy with you, your eyes are on you, so you can't do too much crazy stuff. But when I was younger and I used to first start going to Portland, I was taking a lot of my students with me to get work up there. And we were in the car, and it was like most of my stories early on were with Flacco. It was me and Flacco, and I want to say like Samurai was with us, and a couple of the other students were with us, and we were driving up and just, you know, in the car sharing stories and bullshit, and then I forgot what led up to it, but we're getting ready to get out and eat at A&W root beer at this little chicken shit gas station with A&W inside. It's like a hole in the wall. And I mean, somebody burped in the car. So we go, oh, this fucking stinks. Flacco parks the car, and he hops out of the door and says, I'll do you one better. He fucking blows ass like everywhere. And I come around the corner and he's like, oh, so what do you think of that? I go, not as much as she thought about it. And there's a girl sitting on the fucking party right behind, like where his ass was pointed. And she's just sitting there with this fucking look like, oh my god, like you just fucking shit in my mouth right now. And Flacco like, oh man, the look. He tried to apologize, but he doesn't want to hug her because he has his ass in his face, you know.
Yeah,
He's going, oh great, and oh man, it just the fucking look at him thinking he's hot shit, and then he's farting in this girl's face. Luckily she wasn't like hot or nothing like that, but you know, so it was just so fucking funny to see him get out there and do that, and then I have to apologize for it later. And then we're trying to sit in the restaurant, eating, looking at her sitting on the fucking corner, going, fuck, like, we gotta go back to the car right now, man. You know.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious. So we'll talk about, is there anybody in NorCal you haven't faced? And then I'm curious, we should get one more. Oh, we're going to do this. I'm tripping. We're going to do this. We're going to explain the photo. That's right.
The only guys in NorCal, I mean, there's a lot of new guys that I really would like to work. One of the guys I always thought would be a great feud for me to have was AJ Curse. Because he's so gifted on the mic, you know, and he's just so charismatic. I think he'd make me look really good on the mic, and I think in the ring we really complement each other. I've just always wanted to work AJ. He's a great fucking guy. He's a great guy. Just a really humble, nice guy. And he's done a lot of things, and he's humble about it. And he's just a really good guy. So I really would like to not just want to do one match, but like a program with him. If I could. Other than that, like, you know, a Marcus Lewis or something, because I never got to work him. A lot of the young guys. One guy that I think I'd have a good run with was that guy Sledge. I think he worked Switzerland.
Oh yeah, Sledge.
He's from SoCal, but
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, generally all the people on here I've worked in some aspect or another, you know, either in tag or singles or something. But yeah, there's anybody. I like to work anybody, and the ones I have, I would like to work.
No, he said line them up, man. I'm ready. I'll take on wherever you need.
Whatever. There's so much talent out there right now. It's just, you know, the list can go on, you know, and half of them I don't even see half these guys. Like I've never seen Will Cravis wrestle until last Saturday at Reno.
Oh really?
I've never been on a show with him.
Oh wow!
And I finally got to see him wrestle at Reno, you know, last weekend. But yeah, he's definitely one of those guys I would like to work. You know, there's just a lot of guys that I just haven't got a chance to work. You know, that I would like to.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So what we always do here at NorCal Tonight is we do what we call explain this picture. So basically, I'm gonna show you a picture. You kind of just give me the best explanation of what's going on. You can go in full detail or just a little bit, but this is what we got going on for you, man.
All right. Well, it looks like the goat is upset. No, I'm just kidding. That's me and Timmy at SPW. That was a Taipei Deathmatch.
Taipei Deathmatch?
Taipei Deathmatch.
Well, go ahead and explain to the people what a Taipei Deathmatch is.
Taipei Deathmatch is basically stolen from, I think it was Kickboxer or one of those Van Damme movies, where they wrap their hands in cloth and then dip them in glue and they dip them in broken glass. And we were doing one of the things I created when I was booking SPW was a best of 7 series. And the only reason why I started is because I wanted to work Adam 7 times. So I booked this best of 7 so I can work him. And then I later did it with Timmy the next year, but
what exactly is best of 7?
Basically, the idea of the best of 7 is you want to win, and I kind of stole it from WCW. They were doing the Booker T and Benoit and those things. But I wanted to make it different, more SPW, so what I did was each match increasingly gets more hardcore, more violent. So the first one's a straight one, next one's 2 out of 3, third one is like a street fight, and then the fourth one is where we get kind of creative with them, and according to the wrestlers in there, it kind of caters to them. Like with me and Timmy, it was Queen of Marsbury rules or some bullshit where it's rounds, like, you know, rounds, and you get red carded and all this shit. I don't know.
Oh, okay, that sounds funny, yeah.
And then we did another one that I created was called the Ring of Steel. We basically had 2 sides of the cage and just laid them down in the ring. So every bump we were taking was on the ring.
Oh, yeah?
Cage, you know, on the cage.
Oh, wow.
And then, or, you know, you could do submission matches. There's just different, but basically the last 2 matches the last one's usually pretty violent, or it's an Iron Man.
Oh, okay,
so that one we decided that was match 6. It was the Taipei Death match, because we like to save the Iron Man for the last one. If it goes, it hasn't gone 7 every time. But we like to do that one last because it's, you know, the ultimate match, really.
Yeah.
So me and Timmy decided we're gonna do the Taipei Death match, and it was pretty bloody. It was pretty bad. Like, and then what people don't realize, like, we only really took like 2 bad things. It was just the way I got split open was hit me in the back with a light bulb, and then my back just was covered.
Wow, yeah, wow.
It was like a waterfall came out. With him, I hit him in the stomach. He went to double axe, I hit him in the stomach, and his fucking stomach's like granite, so I didn't do nothing. Like the glass shattered, I wasn't a fucking flake on him. I was like, you son of a bitch. Fuck you, Tim.
Yeah.
So I grabbed him, and I continued to fucking hit him in the head, and then he fucking just gashes it just everywhere. He was just a pool of blood, and we kept working. You know, we were calling some crazy sick stuff in the ring, and
wow.
Timmy doesn't like to talk about it because he's this fucking technical god, but he's probably one of the craziest hardcore wrestlers I've been in the ring with. And people don't see it that way because he's so good at the amateur stuff. He comes up with some shit like there was glass and thumbtacks and all this shit in the ring, and he tells me, "Hey, boss, spine buster, man, drag me." Like,
drag you?
Fucking sick bastard.
Drag you?
Like, I like to do hardcore shit that looks really bad, but it's not that fucking bad. This motherfucker was having me do some crazy shit, and but you know what? That's Timmy. He's a worker. He fools me.
Wow.
That's what he does, and he's good at everything he does. You know. But yeah, we decided to do that match, and I think it was match of the year that year for NorCal.
Oh. Okay.
But yeah, it was that we should have ended with that one because the Iron Man wasn't that good. But it's just two different styles. And me and Adam's Iron Man was really good, but me and Timmy just wasn't.
Yeah.
Anytime you got two baby faces going that long, it's just really hard. But yeah, that match was probably one of the bloodiest ones I've been in.
Yeah?
Yeah, and with one of my favorite students of all time.
He's a student of yours?
Yeah, I tried.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, dude. So that's got to feel good, like you said earlier about students. It's got to feel good when you see them making that kind of... What about Christina Von Erie? Did she play a part in that too?
Yeah, she's one of mine, yeah.
Really?
Started with me, and then she went to Brawl for a bit and then came back.
There's probably a lot more wrestlers out there right now that I just wouldn't even know.
Pretty much every roster. A lot of hood slams.
J.R. Kratos as well?
He came right after I left SPW.
Oh, okay.
But I trained him a lot. I trained a lot with
Okay.
him, and I had a big feud with him where hopefully he learned a lot.
Yeah, that
But
was...
pretty much like from him and Brian Reed and those guys and Del Sol, those guys, those were kind of after me.
Okay.
But like Johnny Plinko was one of my guys, Samurai Drake and Virgil Hayashi. And, I mean, pretty
Virgil,
much.
what?
Oh, Virgil, I picked him from the fucking backyard, that piece of shit.
Oh.
This fucking kid. Virgil was a backyard kid. He came and trained with me.
Uh-huh.
And he couldn't pay, so he quit.
Okay.
Didn't even tell me, just quit. Went back to the backyard, and they were doing a show somewhere about their U-Haul they had burnt. So the ring got burnt. So he shows up at the Colonial, like with this tail chain, and says, "Hey man, can I rent your ring?" I'm like, "Yo, well why, dude? I'm not gonna rent it back there. Why? Well, I ring bent broke, and I want to wrestle." I'm like, "Well, just come back and train." He's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, come train with us. Just come train with us." And at the time, I think he was Black Dog there, and then Drake Frost was White Dog or something like that. So he brought Drake with him, and then they both came and started training with me. And from then on, Virgil's my boy. I love Virgil, man. Virgil's. The stuff Virgil's got going on now, he's such a business smart guy. It's just, people always think, when I talk about Johnny and all these other guys, and I don't even talk about Johnny much, but like, Timmy and, all these other guys that are doing a lot of big things. Virgil's the one, and Choop's another one of my students too, but Virgil's one of the ones I'm really proud of because he took the more business side of wrestling, and he's making a run with it, doing really well for himself on it. And that's one thing a lot of people don't get is, it's good to know the wrestling part, but when that's gone from this business, there's another part you got to learn. And Virgil's getting that right now, and it's it's really good to see him and see what he's doing and talk to him and stuff.
I like that, man. I'm a big fan of Virgil Flynn. He was one of the first people I seen, and I told him immediately. I was like, dude, facial expression, psychology, as far as all that's concerned, I'm like, dude, you're like one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen.
He was one of my favorite guys to work, not just because,
yeah,
I can throw him all over the place, but we really have a good chemistry in the ring. And I give him a lot of the match so I can pick him up and do all his cool shit. But he's really a good overall, not just a person. He's a good guy, but he's just a good wrestler. I wish he'd get more of a push in some places. And he does, like when he did the global thing, I was really proud.
Oh man, yeah.
He's one of the few guys that deserves that. I was just so proud that he finally got his shot.
Yeah.
Not a lot of guys work harder than him. Him and Hayashi work their ass off, and they don't get the respect they deserve. I think.
Yeah. That's so obviously you've trained some high profile guys and you've been around for a long time. How'd you feel about getting the NorCal Hall of Fame nod?
That was I was kind of torn because that was right after my accident, and I kind of thought that they gave it to me because they didn't think I'd be back.
Oh.
So I think they kind of thought it was like, okay, well, he's done. Let's just give him this as a send off. And I was like, nah, I'm not done, fuckers. Like, it's not a question of if I come back; it's when I come back, And, but it was an honor. It was definitely an honor to be in there, especially with some of the guys that are in there. The one thing I will say about the year before, or no, that year when I went, it gave me a chance to talk to Roland.
Oh.
And I hadn't talked to him shit for a long time, and he came up and he shook my hand. He's like, "Hey, that was a great speech. You have a passion, but I wanted to chill. Everything that we went through was just business." And I'm like, I get it, Roland. I get it. People don't come across real promoters. You're a real promoter. We come across guys who are our friends and trying to run a business, like keep their heads up. Roland made a living off of this shit, and I can say I did a great job with SPW when I had it, but I had a job. I had a real job. Roland was a wrestling promoter. That's what he put on his W-2. That's what his job was. He made money off this business, and people don't do that unless you act a certain way.
Yeah.
And so people mistake the way he was for being a prick, and I mean, you kind of have to be in a way, but he was a businessman, So we kind of talked and made amends, and one of the weirdest, I guess it would be kind of a surreal moment, is a member, he told me, he's like, "Hey, I would really like to see you wrestle in the garage." And I was like, "Oh yeah, let's make it happen." So months down the line, Marcus Mack contacted me and said, "Hey, I talked to Roland," and he said, it would be a shame if I never got to see him wrestle in the garage. So let's bring him in. So I did this whole angle it was me and Vinny versus the Scum, and first show it was a Halloween show. I dressed up like Obama. The whole show I was in the ringside with an Obama mask on. And then last thing Adam's getting ready to go over. I take it off and I run in there. Me and Vinny beat the shit out of Adam and set up for the next month. And we do the next month. We do this whole big old schmaz, and it was the main event. So the Scum versus me and Vinny, and the Scum goes over. Roland cuts a promo on me, and then he dies on Monday. And I remember it just sitting there.
That's heartbreaking.
Just sitting there thinking, dude, like, I had so much heat with this man for all these years, and I was the last match he saw. Like, that was like a surreal moment for me, because I sat there thinking, man, I had all this animosity with this guy who pretty much made NorCal wrestling, so I never wanted to really shit on him because he's why we're all here.
Yeah.
And yet I had the honor of being his last match, and he wanted to see me wrestle in his building when he didn't have to. He could have just said, "Oh, fuck ugly, he's a piece of shit."
Well, that's a trip, man. That reminds me of the Ultimate Warrior thing, and like he comes back and he squashes all this beef and then cuts this promo and he passes away the next day. So it kind of reminds me of that same circumstance, man. That's a deep.
It was really one of those moments in my career where I was just kind of like, you know what? I gotta start having heat with people. This business is too precious and too short for us to have heat with people, and that's why it gets me so mad when I hear people just like, "Oh, fuck that person, oh, fuck that person." Like, why are you mad? Because they got a push and you didn't? It's fucking fake, dude. This is like, it's like, it's a show, man. Like, who gives a fuck if you're the main or match one? I like being early anyways in the cards. I can get the fuck out of there and go home. I get paid, whether I match one or match the main event, I'll get paid the fucking same. Like, there's no winner's purse. You get paid to do a fucking job, do it and go home.
Yeah.
But people lose that aspect of wrestling. Like, you're here to do a fucking job, and it doesn't matter who wins or who loses. It matters if the story's good, if the show's good. And people lose sight of that, and they want to be match one and steal the fucking show. And I get that. There's ways to steal a show, but you don't steal a show match one diving out the fucking ring, hitting people with chairs and bumping their ref and shit. It's there's an overall work. Like at the SPW anniversary show, I wrestled Mustafa, and we didn't really do nothing. We had a fucking great match.
Yeah.
Like, the shit that I wanted to do that they wouldn't let me do was way crazier than that. I wanted to do my old kind of hardcore, but they wouldn't let me do shit. But we had a fucking great match. I basically booked that shit on the fly because I don't have any issues with management there anyways. But it's just, we got to a point where you could just go out there and call shit sometimes, and your match is fucking great. It's just how you work and how you talk to the fans, how you interact with the fans, and people got to buy into the less is more.
Yeah.
Not everybody can wrestle a match like Adam and Jeff and Cobb. Those matches people try to. But they end up looking like, you're shit, and those guys are really good. So you just gotta know what your strengths are and do what's best for you. Like I wrestled Choopy at Hood Slam, and our fucking match was amazing.
I was there for that.
Yeah, that match was fucking amazing. Yeah. But if we were match one somewhere else, we'd be fucking not doing none of that shit. I mean, we have enough tools in the box to do more than just high spots.
Absolutely.
To tell a story, and people forget that it's wrestling. If you can't, it's not to get yourself over; it's to get the show over. That's what brings the fans back. And your goal when you're a wrestler at a show is to bring the fans back and keep them paying money so you have a job.
Absolutely.
It's not just to sell your shit. It's you want to, if you truly are for the business, And for what we do, your job is to get the show over anyway that means, whatever it means.
You just play your role.
You got to play your role. Everybody has a place.
Yeah,
Whether you're
The
a
Rock was never. He was so right? Just know your role.
All the shit he says. Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
It's a fucking. That's If you're a new guy, shut your fucking mouth, dude. Like just listen. Shut your mouth and know your role.
Absolutely, man.
That comes from just people telling you, shut your fucking mouth and know your place, dude. Like that's how arguments happen in the locker room. You know, you don't want a job, I don't give a shit. Shut your fucking mouth, know your place. You're new, you know.
And what I would see too is like say you're a newcomer and you're match 1 or whatever, you'd get more out of it from working your ass off and being booked in the main event than if you were to argue your way to the main event. Because when you get in the main event, all you're saying is, well, I won my argument. Yeah. I'm where I said that I should be. Whereas if you work your ass off and then get placed into that position, it's more of like, I did it. Yeah. You know, like they seen it in me.
I try to tell people one of the greatest compliments you can get in pro wrestling is when your peers think that you work hard, and your peers notice what you do. When you have to pull out a fucking schematic and a bunch of, well, on this show here I did this, and on this show here I did this, and these fans pop for this move. Then you're arguing a fucking moot point, you know. But when the workers tell, dude, that kid works his ass off. He's a great hand. You should use him more. Then that's the compliment you want, because now you have a guy like Adam being, hey, I need to work this kid. This kid's gonna work his ass off, and now he makes you, you know. And they say, well, fuck. I'm like, shit, that kid can go at him. Yeah, fuck, I'll work him, and then I work him, and then somebody else works him, and next you know, this kid's fucking sought after by all the vets because he works his ass off. He's gonna make you look good, not because, well, if he bitches, he's gonna leave. You know, and he does bring 8 of his family members. So you know, it's you just gotta work hard and do your fucking job and earn your spot, dude. And then that way it means more. You know, then you're valuable. And being early on the card, it's important in somebody's career. It's important to know how you work a match 1, how you work a match 2, how you work a match 3, how do you work a main event. If you go right from working match 1 to working main events, you're gonna not be successful because you're gonna think you have to do all kinds of crazy shit. You know, it's like sometimes your job on the show is to just put somebody over and you don't do much. That's just what you do. When I wrestle Mustafa, we don't do a lot, but our matches are always over.
Yeah.
You know, because we just know how to work. You know, and we're setting up for somebody else later in the show to do something bigger. You know, and people don't get that. They want to do too much shit to get themselves over. It's just self-mark. You know, just being a self-mark. You know, and I tell people like wrestling is a match itself is like a movie. You start off, you describe the characters, you tell the story, and then you do the finish they remember. The shows are the same way too. You know, you want to start off small, establish people, and then you end with something big. Yeah. You know, you don't Tarantino and go backwards and explain why it's that fucking way. It doesn't work that way. Once in a while it may work, but it generally doesn't work that way. Yeah. You have your main players, and you know, like I tell people, you know, a guy like Adam should be on the main event every show unless he doesn't want to be. You know, because a guy like Adam, he's your best wrestler on the show. People are going to stay to watch him. If he wrestles match 2 or 3, they're gonna fucking leave, and then you got 2 kids that think they're the main event staying. You're not making money at the snack bar. Nobody's buying merch, and people don't want to come back next month because they're like, well, shit, the best guy wrestled early. You know, fuck. You know,
that wasn't worth $10, right? Or $20.
Like, well, where else is he working? They'll find another company that knows how to run shit right. You know, so. But you know, sometimes guys want to sell their merch, intermission, or whatever. But yeah, when I book shows, I'm like, I don't give a fuck what you want to do. You're my main event. You're my fucking star. You're my main guy. Yeah. And then when I book shows, Adam's always on the main event, or Choopy's in the main event. You know, guys like that are always in the main. You want to keep people there as long as you can, so they're spending money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless it's like a fucking 4-hour show at at some bar or something. Like people book this shit like 18 matches on a fucking show or something. You know, that's the kind of shit where y'all want to go match 1 and get me the fuck out of here. But,
I'm gonna pull a vet card right now.
Oh shit! That's ridiculous.
Is that a real thing?
Oh fuck yeah, it is.
Is it really?
Well, you know, Mikey Rain's booking down in Fresno now, and it didn't do it his fault. I love Mikey. He's like one of the few guys that I completely trust in this business. Mikey always has my back. He has a show, Ugly, I want you on my show. He's one of the few guys that's like that. But he booked this bar show, and usually when you do a bar show, you expect certain things. So we get there, and there's the guy's like, yeah, well, you gotta fill 4 hours. Woo! Well, 4 hours. I'm like, Mikey, I gotta go to work in fucking 6 a.m., bro. It's like almost midnight now. That's a 3-hour drive. I'm like, you have me match 9 out of fucking 12? Like, I know, boss. I'm sorry, man. But he has to do it in order for the bar to book him there because the bar wants us there. Why? To sell more liquor.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
It's a business thing, but yeah, sometimes those bar shows, man, they want you there a certain amount of time so they can keep making money. But as a wrestler, you're thinking, fuck, man. I gotta drive 3 hours and work and shit, this ain't worth it. But
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's been a pleasure, man.
Yeah.
You got anything you want to plug? I don't know if you're big on the plugging.
Nah, I mean, you know, people have enough social media out there. You know, you could fucking Google Gaby Manis or Big Ugly or look on one of the workers' page and some shit I'm doing on there. I really work at Reno Russell Factory in Reno, Nevada. SPW. I'll be in Portland again soon. But yeah, just follow me. I mean, like I said, nobody on here is going to go to a show just because I'm fucking on there, so it doesn't fucking matter.
I spent $10. I have a couple guys that spend $10 to see this guy wrestle. That's for sure. Well, it's absolutely been a pleasure, man. You're the best. I appreciate this.
My pleasure, believe me.
It's been a blast, and this is NorCal Tonight with Allstate Chris and the Big Ugly JD Bishop. Take care.